Hey, everybody, welcome back to another Motivation Monday podcast for Monday, November 26, 2018. Hope everybody in the United States had a great Thanksgiving and long weekend and is ready to jump back into real life. To everybody else, hope you had a great regular weekend and you're ready to jump back into real life. So today I wanted to go back to my experience of checking out a clinic with the great Joe Lovano. There was a lot of things that I kind of wrote down, a lot of experiences, being in his presence that made a big impression on me. So I wanted to cover another one of them today, and then we'll kind of close the chapter on that experience. But one of the greatest things that I found from hanging out with him is what a historian of the music he is. In fact, he spent a large portion of the clinic that he did just simply talking about different musicians from different cities and kind of the history of each one of those places. And one of the things that struck me is that a lot of the students that were in the clinic, they had no idea who some of the great musicians from some of the great cities in the United States were. And this brought me to thinking about how understanding the history of jazz is vital to being able to play it. We all know that jazz is a style of music where you can't help but be influenced by the people that came before you. In fact, it's one of the most important parts of playing the music is checking out all of the great players, figuring out what you like, what you don't like, and you can't really push jazz forward without understanding where it came from. I think we can all agree on that fact. So one of the things that Joe Lovano really pointed out to me was that I need to get more into jazz history. I mean, I thought I knew a lot about the history of jazz until I met him. And then I realized that he has a true encyclopedic knowledge of this music, where people are from. He knows every single record that was made in kind of the saxophone lineage. He knows where they're all from. He knows who they played with. He knows so much different stuff, and it clearly brings him so much joy to research this stuff and really get deep into the history of this music that he loves. So that was a big takeaway from me. I immediately went home and started doing some research on where some of my favorite musicians are from. I knew most of them, but what I realized is that there was some of them that I loosely knew their background, some, key facts, but not really that much. So it was super interesting to find that stuff out, and I feel much more informed. So I want you to think about that this week. Think about some of your favorite jazz musicians. How much do you know about where they came from? How much do you know about their influences? How did they start getting into this life of making and producing music? And who did they study with? Who were their influences? All that kind of stuff. Because it really can put your listening endeavors into a different light when you're informed. I think we all can agree on another point as well. It makes it a lot more interesting to listen to something, read something, watch something when we know a little bit of the backstory. So one of the cities that he brought up was Philadelphia. And do you know a lot of the musicians from Philadelphia? Now, some of the most well-known musicians in jazz history that are from Philly are the Heath brothers, right? And I'm particularly into Jimmy Heath because obviously he's a saxophone player. So it made it really cool to actually go home and, start studying Philadelphia as a scene and the type of players that came from Philadelphia and the Philadelphia sound. So this is kind of a different approach to jazz history where you could actually start with a geographic area instead of starting with a particular musician. And you could kind of go down the rabbit hole and become pretty well versed these days just from researching online to, how the cities bred the musicians and take a look at jazz history from another angle, which I find to be super interesting. And this is something I want to do if I have time, is start doing some blog posts about jazz history and diving into maybe these lesser known figures or lesser known aspects of well-known figures. So that's something that I'm going to try to do, and I'm putting it on record so that, you guys will bother me if I don't do it. Hopefully I can find the time to start researching and writing some of these articles. But I'd like to know how many of you out there are really into jazz history. It's one of the things that I fear is going away, that students are not, taking the time to learn where the tradition came from and not reaching back far enough. And I've certainly been guilty of that in my younger years. But I think it's super important to, really understand how the music got to where it is today. So let me know, who are some of your favorite historical figures? Who are people that you've done some research on? Let me know who you're an expert in and the lens that you look at jazz history through. All right. Have a great week, everybody. And we'll see you on Friday with a regularly scheduled episode. Have a good one. Bye.